Good morning, afternoon, perhaps night, everyone. My name is Simon Serna. I'm a climate mobility youth delegate from Mexico, and I'm accompanied by Alexa.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to see many people from all over the world, basically. We're very excited to host this event, and thank you so much for joining.
Yes, thank you so much. And if you're here, it's because you're here for the inaugural Latin America and Caribbean Climate Mobility Youth Forum. We hope you made it to the right place, as today marks the beginning of an essential journey for us as we work towards understanding and addressing one of our era's most pressing challenges, which is climate mobility. This is about the real impact, truly, that climate and environmental changes in our communities have. And specifically, we want to focus on the specific challenges faced by the youth and children in vulnerable areas. So, our agenda for today will be divided in 5 parts. We will start with our keynote addresses, from which you will hear in a little bit. Then, we will hear about our forum and learn more about our main objectives and areas of work so you can know what to expect, how to get involved, what the opportunities are. Then we will have, as Alexa mentioned, an interactive session with 4 breakout rooms where you will be able to share perspectives on different challenges and opportunities in the region with regards to climate mobility. And then we will come back to the main room for a summary and a Q&A to then move on to closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. And also, something that it's for us very important is to recognize everybody here and the partners that made this event possible. So we would like to thank all the partners of the forum, including UNICEF, Migration Youth and Children Platform, and Youngo Migration Working Group. Also, huge thanks to the Robert Bosch Foundation for being a partner of the Global Center for Climate Mobility's youth practice, enabling all the climate mobility youth forums. And after saying that, also we would like to introduce to you one video that we are going to be presenting over here. This video, it's including some of our perspectives, some of our different partners and collaborators as well, of people, of young people of Latin America and the Caribbean, representing what we want and what we believe that can come through these different opinions and engagement in this event. So if the video is ready and if you're all fine, we can play it.
Estamos aquí para redefinir nuestro futuro. Inspirado en la sabiduría de nuestros ancestros, es tiempo de romper con lo establecido y abrazar nuestra verdadera herencia.
We, as young people from Latin America and the Caribbean, are witnessing or experiencing climate mobility in our homes. As a region, we face common challenges, but together we can find solutions.
By challenging the norms, embracing and recognizing that the future is ancestral, we recognize the value of the inclusion of peoples of all genders, all cultures, all perspectives, and all beliefs, leaving no one behind.
We believe in the right to move and the right to stay. Precisamos do compromisso das nações, instituições e organizações para ouvir, aprender e proteger o nosso futuro.
From our communities to the world, we are giving visibility to our experience through data collection, research, and communication strategies. By adapting, innovating, we're embracing resilient and natural-based solutions.
Mais surtout, nous croyons que quand les gens s'unissent, ils détiennent un réel pouvoir. We need your voices, your perspectives, and your talents.
Together, we can create a brighter and more inclusive future for climate mobility in Latin America and the Caribbean. With the Global Center for Climate Mobility, we are building a network, and we invite you to join us.
We count on you.
Contamos contigo.
On compte sur toi.
We count on you.
Contamos com você.
Contamos contigo.
We count on you.
So, as Alexa mentioned, those are some of the faces of our current youth delegates, and we hope you can be part of it soon. So, right now, we're going to move on to our keynote addresses, and we will begin by hearing some of our youth delegates. So, first, we're going to hear from Ms. Alexa Silva Varela, who is our youth mobility delegate from Costa Rica and is present here with us today to share some of her perspectives. Alexa, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I will start then with the speech that we prepared. First of all, we would like to say that in 2022, there were 2.1 million new displacements due to disasters in Latin America and the Caribbean. If this data is not making you feel worried enough, possibly the scenario presented by the World Bank for the year of 2050 will be, in which it is estimated that there will be 17 million internal climate migrants in Latin America. It's an honor to address to you this afternoon at this important event on climate mobility of Latin America and Caribbean youth. Today is a day that marks an important step in the history of climate mobility in the region. However, this dream was born several months ago. During the month of December 2023 at COP28 in Dubai, when several young people from the region were selected in the Climate Mobility Youth Delegates Program, organized by the Global Center for Climate Mobility and the IOM, International Organization for Migration. Here, we discovered that as a region, we have common needs and challenges in terms of climate mobility, but at the same time, we have few alliances led by and for youth, which promote solutions and support on the issue of climate mobility. After several months of preparation and multiple meetings from different parts of the continent, and the essential support of the Global Center for Climate Mobility, we managed to plan and make a reality today the launch of the Latin American and Caribbean Climate Mobility Youth Forum. This event represents enormous progress in climate mobility, seeking youth empowerment, and taking into account our perspectives as actors and actresses in processes of resilience, struggle, and solutions. In this context, today we meet to reflect on our shared responsibility to protect our planet and to ensure a sustainable future for all. The urgency to act now is undeniable. We must prevent future mass displacements and act on current displacements that are caused by disasters or climate change. In this way, we ensure that Latin America and the Caribbean can face the challenges of climate change with resilience, as well as human mobility for various reasons that ends up being vulnerable due to the consequences of climate change. Likewise, we need to work together to ensure that human and climate mobility is by choice and not forced. We recognize that when we refer to climate mobility, we take into account the right to move and the right to stay. Every action we take and idea presented today will have a significant impact on the present and the future. During the forum, we will have the opportunity to hear the opinions of experts in the area while contributing our ideas regarding issues related to climate mobility. We have designed various breakout rooms in which we will discuss topics of the participants' choice, such as defense of youth and children, facing the future, innovation and technology, narratives of change, research and storytelling, cultural currents, navigating climate mobility. In addition, these spaces will have as transversal topics the traditions and knowledge of our communities, including the Aboriginal, Indigenous, Afro-descendant, women, children, and youth perspectives, and recognizing the diversity of knowledge that seeks and has sought for centuries that protection and connection with our planet. We invite all the young people present here who have joined us to actively participate in the discussions about our present and future, in which we have so much knowledge and valuable perspectives to contribute, always from an angle that seeks to impact positively to the people who are currently part of climate mobility, as well as seeking Latin American and Caribbean integration as a means to take actions and reach to solutions. Our participation deserves to be recognized and heard in local, national, and international initiatives focused on climate and human mobility. Our voice, our actions are essential to generating positive and lasting change. As youth who recognize the fundamental role we play in our societies, we know the need to empower new generations with the knowledge necessary to face these challenges and make informed decisions. Therefore, with this network, we are laying the foundations for today. We will create spaces for learning, discussion, and empowerment to look for those characteristics of youth that can be a strength to make our movement grow and become stronger. On behalf of the team of young co-organizers of this event, Daniela Soberon, Isis Riquelme, Ivonne Serna, Juan Pablo Mamani, Mabel Torres, Helen Pasmay, and Alexa Silva, and other people who have accompanied us along the way, we want to express our deep gratitude to the Global Center for Climate Mobility for the constant support and advice throughout this process, but above all, for believing in our potential. Likewise, we thank our allies as the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, the Migration Youth and Children Platform, NYCP, and the Robert Bosch Foundation for believing in the power of children and youth and doing this possible. Also, thank you all for the participation, for the time and commitment in this space. We believe in the capacity that we have as united youth of the Latin American and the Caribbean to generate changes. That is why we want to get to know you, to generate knowledge together, and to generate strategic alliances to make them a difference from our spaces and echo in the region the power of our voices. Thank you so much. And after that being said, I would like to introduce in this case another person over here, which is called Helen Pasmay. She's from Ecuador, and she will be supporting us in this case with the speech in Spanish. Thank you so much. You can go, Helen.
Thanks, Alexa. Buenas tardes a todos. En 2022 hubo 2.1 millones de nuevos desplazamientos por desastres en América Latina y el Caribe. Si este dato no es suficientemente preocupante, posiblemente sí lo será, el escenario presentado por el Banco Mundial para el año 2050, en el que se estima que habrá 17 millones de migrantes climáticos internos en América Latina. Es un honor dirigirme a ustedes en la tarde de hoy en este importante evento sobre movilidad climática de la juventud latinoamericana y caribeña. Hoy es un día que marca un paso importante en la historia sobre la movilidad climática en la región. Sin embargo, este sueño nació hace varios meses atrás. Durante el mes de diciembre de 2023, en la COP28 de Dubái, cuando varios jóvenes de la región fuimos seleccionados en el programa de delegados juveniles de movilidad climática, organizado por el Centro Global de Movilidad Climática y la OIM. Aquí descubrimos que como región tenemos necesidades y desafíos en común en materia de movilidad climática, pero a la vez contamos con pocas alianzas lideradas por y para la juventud, las cuales promuevan soluciones y acompañamiento en el tema de la movilidad climática. Tras varios meses de preparación y múltiples reuniones desde diferentes partes del continente, y con el apoyo esencial del Centro Global para la Movilidad Climática, logramos planear y hacer hoy una realidad, el lanzamiento del Foro Juvenil de Movilidad Climática de América Latina y el Caribe. Este evento representa un avance enorme en materia de movilidad climática, buscando el empoderamiento juvenil y tomando en cuenta nuestras perspectivas como actores y actrices de procesos de resiliencia, lucha y soluciones. En este contexto, hoy nos reunimos para reflexionar sobre nuestras responsabilidades compartidas, es decir, proteger nuestro planeta y asegurar un futuro sostenible para todos. La urgencia de actuar es innegable. Debemos prevenir futuros desplazamientos masivos y actuar ante los desplazamientos actuales que son causados por motivos de desastres o cambio climático. De esta manera, aseguramos que América Latina y el Caribe pueden enfrentar los desafíos del cambio climático con resiliencia, así como la movilidad humana por diversos motivos que termina siendo vulnerabilizada a partir de las consecuencias del cambio climático. Asimismo, necesitamos trabajar juntos para garantizar que la movilidad humana y climática sea por elección y no forzada. Reconocemos que cuando nos referimos a movilidad climática tomamos en cuenta el derecho a movilizarse y a permanecer. Cada acción que tomemos e idea presentada hoy tendrá un impacto significativo en el presente y futuro. Durante el foro tendremos la oportunidad de escuchar la opinión de personas expertas en el área, a la vez que contribuimos con nuestras ideas respecto a temas relacionados con la movilidad climática. Hemos diseñado diversos breakout rooms en los cuales discutiremos temas de elección de los participantes, como defensa de la juventud y la infancia, financiando el futuro, es decir, en innovación y tecnología, narrativas de cambio, y también las corrientes culturales, navegando hacia la movilidad climática. Además de estos espacios tendrán como tópicos transversales las tradiciones y conocimientos de nuestras comunidades, incluyendo las perspectivas aborígenes, indígenas, afrodescendientes, de mujeres, niñez y juventud, y reconociendo la diversidad de conocimientos que buscan y han buscado por siglos la conexión con nuestro planeta. Invitamos a todas las personas jóvenes presentes que se han unido a este evento a participar activamente de las discusiones sobre nuestro presente y futuro, a las que tenemos tantos conocimientos y perspectivas valiosas que aportar, siempre desde un ángulo en el que se busque llegar a impactar positivamente a las personas que actualmente son parte de la movilidad climática, al igual que buscando la integración latinoamericana y caribeña como medio para tomar acciones y llegar a soluciones. Nuestra participación merece ser reconocida y escuchada en iniciativas locales, nacionales e internacionales centradas en el clima y la movilidad humana. Nuestra voz y nuestras acciones son fundamentales para generar un cambio positivo y duradero. Como juventud que reconoce el papel fundamental que cumplimos en nuestras sociedades, sabemos la necesidad de empoderar a las nuevas generaciones con el conocimiento necesario para enfrentar estos desafíos y tomar decisiones informadas. Por eso, con esta red que el día de hoy estamos sentando las bases, daremos lugar a espacios de aprendizaje, discusión y empoderamiento para buscar aquellas características propias de la juventud que puedan ser una fortaleza para hacer que nuestro movimiento crezca y se vuelva más fuerte. De parte del equipo de jóvenes coorganizadores del evento, Daniela Soberón, Alexa Silva, Isis Raquelme, Ivonne Serna, Juan Pablo Mamani, Mabel Torres y mi persona Helen Pasmay y otras personas que nos acompañaron en el camino, queremos expresar nuestro profundo agradecimiento al Centro Global por la Movilidad Climática, por el constante apoyo y asesoramiento durante todo este proceso, pero sobre todo por creer en nuestro potencial. Asimismo, agradecemos a nuestros aliados del Fondo de las Naciones Unidas para la Infancia, UNICEF, la Plataforma de Migración de Juventud y Niñez, y la Fundación Robert Bosch, por creer en el poder de la niñez y juventud y hacer esto posible. También gracias a todos ustedes por su participación, por su tiempo y compromiso en este espacio. Creemos que la capacidad que tenemos como Juventud Unida de América Latina y el Caribe para generar cambios. Es por ello que queremos conocerlos, generar un conocimiento en conjunto y generar alianzas estratégicas, para juntos marcar la diferencia desde nuestros espacios y hacer eco en la región del poder de nuestras voces. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Helen, for this incredible speech. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening over here. Now we will continue with the participation of other very important people that are making this possible today. And in this case, we would like to introduce Her Excellency Dr. Joelle Clark, Minister of Environment, Climate Action and Constituency, Empowerment of St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to first introduce a short bio of Her Excellency, and then we will proceed with the participation from her. In this case, we are very grateful for having the presence of Her Honorable Dr. Joelle Clark. She's the Minister of Sustainable Development, Environment and Climate Action and Constituency Empowerment of St. Kitts and Nevis. The Senator is also easily described as a climate action advocate, defender of youth involvement in decision-making, and climate and gender justice specialist. Professionally, she became one of the youngest females to become a director of a government office, the Department of Constituency Empowerment in 2012. Shortly thereafter, Dr. Joelle Clark worked as an educator, bringing her passion for environment and youth together under the banner of one of the strongest youth-led environmental programs in St. Kitts and Nevis. Dr. Clark has been involved in social impact assessments and sustainable livelihoods research for over 15 years. The Honorable Minister's project-related work ranges from livelihood support, community-based developing initiatives, sustainable tourism, and environmental conservation. She was engaged in developing and executing community-based projects in collaboration with community groups on behalf of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. Added to that, Dr. Clark has served as a research supervisor of the University of West Indies and the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College. All of her work, passion, and dedication has now transitioned to this period of public service as she holds the title of Minister of Sustainable Development, Environment, Climate Action, and Constituency Empowerment, a portfolio aligned to her passion, her training, and her advocacy. So the floor is yours, and in this case, you can start, Dr. Joel Clark. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me and for that introduction. It's always a little off-putting hearing your bio, especially hearing the years of your service. And for me, who I consider myself youth adjacent, I'm like, how old am I? But I'm really happy to be here. And for my short intervention today, I decided that I would focus on youth as change makers, empowering youth to act for my 5-minute presentation. The topic is so timely and the launch of this initiative is so relevant, especially the global and regional aspect to it. So I felt it was important for us to ask ourselves as young persons, as persons who support youth action in climate change, this one question: can we plan the future for the next generation without including them in the conversation? And how audacious can we be to make decisions for young people, and about a future that we may not even be part of without including them in the conversation? And it's from this vantage point, I feel that it's important for us to, when we talk about youth action for climate mobility in particular, that we speak to shifting power. We consider transboundary cooperation, and we realize the importance of localized action and collective responsibility. And in shifting power, I do believe that at first we have to acknowledge youth voices and, of course, amplify youth voices. We often say that the unheard voices, or we're not giving youth an opportunity, but the young people, as evidenced here with the number of persons who have joined this call, have been speaking, have been acting, have been innovating. And sometimes it's persons like myself and politicians in these spaces and platforms with power and reach who don't acknowledge and who don't lend our support to amplifying youth voices. And that's why I'm particularly happy to be invited here and will always say yes to opportunities like this. There is also a need to recognize that young people have agency to act, but we'll always need more support. We'll always need more scaffolding. But the agency is there and something that we shouldn't stifle. Importantly, the innovative solutions that we need to address climate solutions, they rest with our youth population. But what has happened, oftentimes, young people are asked, give your ideas. What do you think about that? But the unfortunate reality is there isn't a transition from sharing of ideas to implementation of ideas. And this is what I believe in: acknowledging youth's agency to act and recognizing that they have power to do. This is where shifting power to young people is important. And shifting power is not just about talking or engaging more. It's about financing. It's about supporting. It's about recognizing that if we're going to give young people the opportunity to be innovative, to be creators, to be solution providers, then they have to be resourced. One of the pain points I experienced in particular when I spent my younger part of my life was always being included to some invited to conversations, but never ever being part of the solution, never ever being part of the action, never ever being told what the eventual decisions were. So I determined that in every space, be it in my former life as a director in the civil service or as an educator, that young people would always be given the voice, the louder voice, the amplified voice, and the resources to act, to participate, to solve, to problem solve together. I also want to register that transboundary cooperation is important when we're talking about climate mobility and responding to climate mobility and allowing it to happen. The localized action, yes, it's required, but I believe, and I think we all can agree, that collective and regional responsibility and ownership of macro level changes are required to protect the most vulnerable, especially here in the Caribbean. So the magnitude and the scale, rather, of the issues, the climate issues that we face in the Caribbean, from um, on, slow onset events, droughts, to the hurricanes that we experience every year, these require regional cooperation and regional responses. The climate displaced populations, those persons who leave one Caribbean country to another to seek employment because the agricultural sector has failed, or because a storm has wiped out an entire industry in a rural area, require regional cooperation so that each country is welcoming, that each country understands the investments that's required to protect regional citizens, and that we respond to global humanitarian causes. So for St. Kitts and Nevis, while our action may be, let's say it might be unique because of our island state reality or unique because of our historical trajectory, it's very common to the region and very common to the global community. And what is common to the global community is the reality that young people are the key actors in climate. I want to share, lastly, just 3 examples from St. Kitts and Nevis that I'm very proud to be a part of, to support in terms of our deliberate and intentional and thoughtful action for including more young persons in the conversation and also in the action. Young people must always be included, and for St. Kitts and Nevis, in high level participation and conversation. They are a critical part of our national policy agenda, not just our national youth policy, but our national policy. Last year, when the government of St. Kitts was presenting its annual budget, our first group of stakeholders were young people, and all of their suggestions were implemented or seriously considered. When we're developing national policies, and for those of you who know about voluntary national reviews, an entire section was devoted to young people leading the charge. When we have controversial debates about environment and climate, our National Youth Assembly debates first. They engage the communities first. So we are allowing the creativity of young people to be part of what's driving climate action in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we believe strongly that this is the way that the region should move if there is to be serious and meaningful change and action as it relates to climate change and climate mobility. I want to close by saying that if we are the last generation that can actually do something about the climate crisis, then our only hope is investing in youth action. We have to empower young people to act. We have to shift power and resources and finances to young people. And we have to ensure that their voices do more than just contribute to the conversation, but that they are part of the collective action and the collective innovation that we need for the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Honorable Minister Clark. We really appreciate your experiences and especially that reflection of connecting ideas with resources, right? Which is something that we can hopefully elaborate a little bit more on as we talk about what we want to do with this forum. But we thank you for your time. We're very lucky to have you as an ally. We will now pass on the mic to Ms. Sarah Rosengartner, who is the Deputy Managing Director of the Global Center for Climate Mobility. The floor is yours, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me well? Audio is good? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this launch event of the Youth Forum for Latin America and the Caribbean. It's exciting to see so many people who have joined from the region, but also from other regions. I see a lot of African friends and colleagues have joined. And that is exactly what we want to build at the Global Center for Climate Mobility, a global youth movement, a global youth constituency around this topic of climate mobility. We're happy that UNICEF and MYCP are joining us in this effort. And as you mentioned, also grateful to the support of the Robert Bosch Stiftung. The Global Center for Climate Mobility started work in Africa, and hence we have a following oh, sorry, I'm being asked about my language, and I'm going to do this. Sorry, guys. We started our work in Africa, and hence we have brought along a large constituency of African youth that we're starting to build now in Latin America and the Caribbean, where our work began a year ago and is entering an exciting phase with outreach to many constituencies over the next couple of months to engage a consultation process in the region. Our work is anchored around 3 pillars, and the first of them is titled Anticipate. Anticipate is really around how do we get a sense of what's coming, the future that climate change is imposing on communities in regions that are most affected by the climate crisis. How do we collect the data that is needed for people to understand current realities and future trends? And how do we make that information available to start a public conversation with different stakeholders, with governments, to help community-based planning and community transition, anticipating the changes that are coming and helping people prepare for those changes. What we find is that oftentimes people observe that things around them have changed. The environment is different, the weather is different, it's more hot, it's drier, there is more flooding. But not always is it clear that that's linked to a larger phenomenon called climate change. And not always is it clear for people how those changes in the environment will progress over the coming years and decades. And not always do they have access to warnings when there is maybe an extreme weather event, a storm, a flood, a landslide coming their way. And so this first bucket of work that we call anticipation is really around this question of what information do we need to make available to whom, and how do we get it down to those who need it most, where the action is needed most. And to identify those areas, we do something in every region, and including now in Latin America and the Caribbean region, that's called modeling. So we try to build future scenarios using data that is available and some data that is computed based on the data that is available to say, what is the likely future impact of climate change on the movement of people? And based on that modeling, based on those projections, we engage conversations, and we look forward to engaging conversations in this region with different stakeholders, including youth, to say, well, if this is the future that we might be looking at, what are the actions that need to be taken now to prevent future suffering, to prevent people from being negatively impacted, and to build resilience for communities that are likely to be most affected. So that first bucket of anticipation is really the foundation for a second step, and that is to plan. So once you have an idea of what possible futures that are coming your way, how do you prepare and plan for those? And again, this process of consultation that we have undergone in Africa, that we are planning to hold here in the Latin America and Caribbean region over the next few months is to look at possible actions, courses of actions. What do we know about the places that are likely to be affected by climate change impacts? What do we know about the communities there? What do we know about the economies there? What do we know about the politics there? And given the current realities, what should planning, what should preparedness look like? What actions are needed on the ground? Those plans for us take two forms. We support regional agendas for action. So this is what we want to take to COP this year, COP29, which will be held in Baku. We want to bring an agenda for action for Latin America and Caribbean that is co-developed with all of you, with the youth of the region, that is co-developed with policymakers from the region, that is co-developed with community representatives from the region, so different constituencies, but we count on the input and the contribution of the young people from the region in shaping this agenda for action. And then in the next step, what we do and what we're currently doing in Africa is working at the national level. So looking at how can we support national level policymaking, but also community level, local level planning and policymaking to again, like based on the information that we have on, what are likely climate mobility scenarios, what's the action that we can take? So that's the second part, is the planning part. And then the third part goes to the action and to the what we call enabling. So we have data, information, we have some plans, but how do we actually make things happen? And we're banking on three things. One is helping governments, once they have a plan, once they have a policy, access funding from international organizations, funding mechanisms such as the climate fund. So how do we support basically the unlocking of resources that is based on governments having plans and policies in place? The second plank is the action that comes from you, that comes from other stakeholders. So how do we make resources available to the broader ecosystem of actors that really needs to come into play? Young people that are already doing work, working on improving water availability in their communities, improving data access in their communities, coming up with new ways of dealing with waste or dealing with energy generation. So how do we support that action, entrepreneurship, organization of young people directly, but also cities, for example, or women. So we're looking at a whole range of constituencies and how we can support their actions. And then lastly, we're looking at enabling coalition building across regions, and that's happening here. That's happening also with governments. So we provide platforms such as the Climate Mobility Summit during the UN General Assembly in New York, the Climate Mobility Pavilion at the COP, at the climate summits of the UN, where there's a space that different actors can come together, discuss what they're doing, discuss what their priorities are, and put them forward together to shape the international agenda. And that's another form of enabling action that's more on the political side, more on the agenda shaping side, but that we think is critical in the longer term to unlock resources and make progress on this issue. We know that so far the climate agenda is still very much framed around carbon emissions, decarbonization, and that's important, but there's a few heavy hitters, a few countries that really need to move the needle there. We know that there's a whole climate agenda that's about people and the impacts of climate change on people. And that's the global majority that really is concerned here. And so how do we elevate the people-centered, the people-positive climate action agenda so that there is the possibility for people to adapt in a way that has positive outcomes, and we're not looking at loss and damage but we're looking at preventing loss and damage. That's what we're working on, and that's what we're excited to work on with you. The young people have been, I would say, our strongest allies, our strongest champions so far, and we're really here to listen how we can best support you, how we can co-develop solutions with you, from everything to climate literacy and raising awareness to the more practical solutions I mentioned that can improve livelihoods on the ground. And so I'm looking forward to this discussion, to starting this process with you in the region, and then again, also across regions as a global coalition that moves this agenda. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and the Global Center for Climate Mobility for enabling this forum and all of us to be here. I am now honored to introduce the Honorable Karen Z. James, Grenada's Minister for Climate Resilience, the Environment, and Renewable Energy. She has dedicated many years to serving her community and country, and in 2018, Minister James made history by becoming the youngest senator ever in Grenada and the Commonwealth of Nations, where she played a pivotal role in legislative review and reform. And today, she continues to break barriers as the youngest elected member of parliament in Grenada's history and the only female elected for the winning party. Her current role underscores her commitment to environmental sustainability and renewable energy, and we are so happy to have her here with us. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you so very much, host, for having me. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, and most importantly, the spirited and future shaping youth of Latin America and the Caribbean. Today, as we stand at the precipice of a new era in climate action, I, as the youngest Minister for Climate Resilience, Environment, and Renewable Energy in Grenada, I am both humbled and invigorated by the opportunity to address this honorable assembly. The launch of this youth forum is not just a milestone, it is a clarion call to arms for all of us who inherit and will shape the future of our planet. In our beautiful yet vulnerable regions, the tales of hurricanes, of floods, and droughts are not mere anecdotes. They are the lived experiences of our communities, a relentless reminder of our fragile dance with nature. And so the phenomenon of climate mobility, a concept that encompasses the forced migration and displacement triggered by climate adversities, stands as one of the most important and pungent challenges and opportunities of our time. It beckons us to rethink, to reimagine, and to forge our policies, our priorities, and our very identities in the face of climate change. As a 26-year-old woman navigating corridors of power or influence, often finding them echoing with voices that did not sound like mine, I stand before you as proof that youth is not a barrier to leadership, but a beacon for innovation and change. My journey to this esteemed position, marked by both skepticism and solidarity, underscores a simple truth that our age, our gender, nor our small island origins do not confine our capacity to lead on the global stage, especially in the climate dialogue where every perspective, every voice, and every action can tip the scales towards sustainability and survival. The Latin American Climate Mobility Youth Forum, it represents an unprecedented opportunity for us to not only address the immediate impacts of climate change, but to spearhead a movement that integrates climate mobility into the heart of our development strategies. And so this forum is our platform to elevate the discourse from recognition to action, from awareness to advocacy, and from individual efforts to collective achievements. Our objective is clear: to catalyze a youth-led vanguard for climate action that is inclusive, innovative, and unyielding. And so we are here to weave a tapestry of resilience that spans continents and cultures, to share insights and strategies that transcend our borders, and to foster a community of young leaders who are as diverse as the ecosystems that we vow to protect. And so as we delve into this forum's agenda, um, I want us to be guided by a spirit of collaboration and a strong resolve to act. Let us ensure that we continue to inspire. I trust that each discussion would enrich our understanding and that each breakout session would be crucible for innovative solutions. And so we are not just, or you are not just participants in this forum, but you are the architects of a more resilient future. And so, to the young leaders present, let this forum also be both a challenge and a promise. A challenge to confront the climate crisis with boldness and ingenuity, and a promise that your efforts, your vision, and your voices will be the cornerstone of our collective response to change and mobility. And so, in essence, let us embark on this journey, not just with the intent to change the narrative around city, but with the commitment to be the vanguard of that change. Together, armed with our youth and our determination, and of course, our unwavering commitment to our planet, we can turn the tide of climate adversity into a wave of opportunity for all of us. So, on this note, I would say thank you for your courage, for your passion, and your dedication to shaping a world that is not defined by the challenges it faces, but by the resilience, the innovation, and unity with which it responds. And so, this is our opportunity for us to act. This is our opportunity for us to show the world that the young people knows what the issues are. We face it, and we are fighting to ensure that we get our resolve and that we play our part in this whole climate conversation. So thank you so very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. And with this, we will close. Thank you so much for your participation, for your excellency, Minister James. We're very glad to have you over here and to have your expertise as the expertise of all the participants that have joined us. Now, I will introduce you to Yvonne. She has been over here with us during this session, and she will give a short introduction of the concept of the forum.
Thank you so much, Alexa. And this is probably the moment we are waiting for. What is the forum actually about? Where does it come from? Why? And what will it be? What will it be all about? So if you made it here, we can probably all agree that climate change is not a distant threat, but it is a present reality that is moving millions of people all over the world. The Americas recorded 1.6 million new disaster displacements in 2021 alone. And by 2050, Latin America specifically could face up to 17 million climate migrants. The question then is not if, but how we will respond to these challenges. And the Latin American Caribbean Climate Mobility Youth Forum is our platform to forge a collective response to those challenges. We aim to bring together the energy, the creativity, and resilience of the youth to tackle climate mobility by hopefully sharing knowledge, identifying key challenges and opportunities, and building networks of support and collaboration. To connect those ideas that Minister Clark was sharing before, right? What if young people have ideas, but they don't have the resources? So we can hopefully become one of those links. Our journey begins, of course, with the strong support of our inaugural partners, UNICEF, and the Migration, Youth, and Children Platform, and Youngo Migration Working Group. So we thank you so much for your commitment, as we know so many of you are here with us today, and we've seen your activity in the chat. So thank you so much. So our forum, through this forum, we want to first foster the exchange of knowledge and experiences among the youth to encourage active participation. Second, to identify and develop strategies that are tailored to the unique realities of our region, Latin America and the Caribbean. Third, we want to establish networks of support and collaboration among young leaders and relevant organizations. And finally, we want to drive inclusivity and gender equity in all discussions and actions related to climate mobility. As we navigate the complexities of climate mobility, which we know are many, our approach focuses on three core areas of work, which are advocacy, fellows, and a youth fund. Each of these pillars plays a crucial role in empowering you, the youth, to become active agents of change in the Latin America and Caribbean climate mobility sphere. So let's dive into what each area entails and how you can get involved. So our first pillar is advocacy. And advocacy is really about amplifying our voices to influence public policies and also societal perceptions regarding climate mobility. For this, we are organizing a series of online and in-person events like webinars, debates, and panel discussions to hopefully dissect, understand, and address public policies that are critical to promoting sustainable mobility and mitigating the impacts of climate change in our regions. We will also be rolling out targeted awareness campaigns that are aimed not just at our foreign participants, but the broader communities where they live, and also youth-led climate action organizations, because we want to hear your stories and your ideas, and we want to make sure that they are heard in bigger platforms. And finally, we will set up working groups for policy proposals. And by joining these working groups, you'll be able to collaborate with your peers to draft policy proposals that reflect the youth's visions and solutions for climate change challenges. These proposals will hopefully then be championed in meetings with government and community leaders, offering a unique opportunity to influence policy at highest levels. Moving on to our second area, which is the Fellows Program, we are focused on fostering a dynamic exchange and ideas, and we will select a cohort of fellows who will participate in exchange sessions where they will share challenges and also potential solutions related to climate mobility. And we will focus a lot on networking and connections to connect these young people with experts and organizations that can support their journeys as a climate mobility activist and scale their impact, offering insights, but also resources, hopefully also partnerships. Finally, our pillar, the Youth Fund, aims to empower you with their resources needed to turn ideas into tangible projects. So we hope to have a funding mechanism where you can present your innovative proposals aimed at addressing climate mobility challenges and receive crucial feedback and financial support to bring these ideas to life. And to complement this funding mechanism, we hope to conduct workshops and training sessions that are designed to hone your project management and proposal writing skills, because we want to help you all articulate your visions effectively and to ensure your projects stand out and succeed. And following the workshops, we will develop a document encapsulating the youth's collective vision and proposals, serving as a testament to your creativity, your resilience, and also the commitment that different communities have to tackle climate mobility. So through these three areas of work, advocacy, fellows, and the youth fund, your engagement, enthusiasm, and innovative ideas are what will really drive this forum forward. So we invite you to be an active part of this journey, whether you're sharing your story, contributing your ideas, engaging in your programs. Your participation is truly crucial for us to build a community of practice and also to build pathways to create a more resilient future for Latin America and the Caribbean.
Thank you so much.